What's up, everybody? What is going on? It is, of course, your boy, Yami Noob. I'm here today to give you all the sweet baby squids a little introductory foray into the world of KTM. KTM, unlike Honda or Harley-Davidson or most other motorcycle manufacturers that are selling bikes worldwide, are relatively new to the world of street bikes. Their long, formidable off-road and motocross bikes have carried riders to championships for decades, but it wasn't until the mid-90s that they distilled that ethos into the world of street-going motorcycles. And since the first Duke rolled off the line in 1994, Team Orange has undergone multiple ownership changes and entered into manufacturing partnerships with other global automotive brands. With a reputation for questionable reliability, KTM is still producing some of the most aggressive and competitive motorcycles across multiple classes and categories that cater to an incredibly devout and loyal customer base. Oh yeah, they also race in MotoGP. That's pretty sweet. So in today's episode, we're going to unpack KTM's street bike history and take a look at what bikes they're currently bringing to the great wide world of motorcycling. Really quick, before we start talking about KTM, I want to let you guys know about a cool new promo we're doing at YamiNoob.co. Until January 7th, we are running the New Year New Gear giveaway, where one lucky winner will come away with a full set of riding gear from our friends over at Revit. To celebrate this promotion, we're also offering a 10% discount on all Revit gear at the shop. So head over to YamiNoob.co, get anything you want, and you'll be entered to win this New Year New Gear giveaway. Check it out. Now let's get into the video. The Austrian company KTM has been making motorcycles since 1951. Prior to that, they were an auto shop and retailer that sold DKW motorcycles as well as Opel cars. A significant portion of their business during World War II came from repairing diesel engines. Once the war came to a close, the owner of the company, Johann Trunkenpolz, who was responsible for the T in KTM, was provoked to build his own motorcycle prototype. Known as the R100, this motorcycle was made almost entirely in-house except for the use of the Rotax engine. Following the development of this motorcycle, KTM took on new investors, employed 20 people, and they were producing as many as 3 motorcycles per day. Pretty staggering production numbers, truly. They began competing in road racing events and building small displacement scooters. By the early 70s, KTM had began developing their own dirt bike engines and becoming a recognized brand in the off-road world. In the 1980s, KTM made significant advances in the dirt bike industry by offering motorcycles with advanced suspension, disc brakes, and liquid-cooled engines. At the end of the decade, the founder of KTM passed away and the company filed for bankruptcy. In 1991, KTM's new motorcycle division is opened under new ownership, and the brand sees a resurgence with large investments made into developing new models, fine-tuning production, and sponsoring racing events to establish further brand awareness. This was done in time during the mid-1990s that KTM made significant milestones that led to the company we know today. The Duke is arguably KTM's most ubiquitous line of motorcycles, which ranges from 125cc all the way to 1350cc's. That's over 10x the displacement of a little 125. The first Duke was released in 1994 as KTM's first modern street bike. The original Duke took much inspiration from KTM's championship-winning enduro and motocross bikes. It used a 609cc single-cylinder engine that was lifted off of KTM's LC4 enduro engine, which made 56 horsepower, which was remarkably substantial for a single-cylinder engine of the time. This bike was designed as a more refined version of a supermoto-style motorcycle. It had long suspension travel with rebound and compression stability and Brembo brakes. This was an incredibly raw motorcycle, and it didn't even come with electric start, but it instead needed to be kick-started with the help of a manual compression release. Despite its analog composition, it was otherwise considered to be a rowdy and fun motorcycle and acted as a benchmark for KTM and the continuation of the Duke line. KTM's Duke series of motorcycles have seen many updates and iterations of the last 30 years. The Duke 390 has become a formidable competitor in the beginner bike category, offering aggressive hyper-naked styling and an approachable and value-driven package. The Duke 390 is a direct result of KTM's partnership with the Indian company Bajaj Auto, who have owned nearly 50% of KTM since 2013. The Duke 390 was originally built and designed for riders in the Indian market to provide an exciting mid-range motorcycle for their domestic riders, but the Duke ultimately proved to be equally attractive for beginner riders in America and Europe as well, where it's become a staple in KTM's lineup. And that's pretty cool to have a bike that can service all kinds of global markets. This bike used a 373cc single engine until the 2024 model year, where it's been bumped to 399cc's. It was updated a handful of times since its launch in 2015 and is now considerably advanced set of features, including ride-by-wire throttle and switchable ABS. The Duke 390 has since stood for the foundation of the RC390, KTM's small displacement sport bike, as well as the Husqvarna Svartpillen and Vitpillen 401 models. Since Husqvarna exists under KTM's umbrella of ownership, a handful of models share similar design and components. As the Duke platform has continued to grow since the original Duke 620, KTM has used the scalpel to carve out their niche in every segment of motorcycling. The Duke 125, 200, and 250 all cater to riders in dense urban areas areas in India or Asia, or European riders who are restricted to small displacement bikes based on their age and experience level. For the middleweight segment, KTM has sold the Duke 690, 790, 890, and now the 990. The Duke 690 used a single-cylinder engine that was shared with the KTM 690 Enduro and Supermoto models. This bike was then eclipsed by the Duke 790, which used a 799cc parallel twin engine making 105 horsepower and 65 foot-pounds of torque. The 790 was the first Duke to be dubbed the Scalpel thanks to its edgy looks, powerful engine, and sharp handling. This bike was then replaced by the 890 model just a few years after. But wait, there's more! In an ever-changing offering where KTM needs to push the envelope but leave purposeful stepping stones for riders to level up in weight classes, they have created the Duke 990 to replace the 890 and brought back the 790 as the placeholder for the smaller displacement middleweight bike. That's really confusing, isn't it? The Duke 790 is made in collaboration with CF Moto, who manufactures the engine for this platform and uses it in their own models as well, notably the 800NK and Adventure bikes. And also KTM continues to sell the 690 in a Supermoto and Enduro configuration as well. So yeah, just to keep you a little more confused. The Duke 990 may be an evolution of KTM's existing middleweight weaponry, but it features an entirely new frame, engine, and updated suspension components. The 2024 KTM 990 Duke boasts a recently introduced liquid-cooled 947cc parallel twin engine, delivering enhanced horsepower and torque with claimed figures of 123 horsepower and 76 foot-pounds of torgos, respectively. The Duke 990 has fully adjustable WP Apex suspension, as well as new wheels, with most bikes from KTM coming with incredibly competitive tech package. The 990 is no exception. It has a redesigned TFT display with ride modes, Supermoto ABS, and traction control. The Duke 990 is unmistakably a Duke with sharp angles and bright orange paint, even if the headlight looks a little smushed. So we've got the entry-level Dukes, the middleweight Dukes, then we must of course talk about the Super Duke. The Super Duke 1290 debuted in 2014 as KTM's premier hyper-naked motorcycle, and it was kind of a game-changing paradigm. It used a 1301cc V-twin that made 180 horsepower and 106 foot-pounds of torque. So it has the top-end pull of a liter bike and the low-end torque of a 2000cc plus cruiser. The Super Duke is truly a monster of a motorcycle. The first generation was sold as a completely raw and analog machine, making no use of technological safety nets like traction control, launch control, wheelie control, nothing. It was just an insane monster of a bike. I've had the chance to sample a 2015 version. It's insane. The 1290 was updated in 2017 and again in 2020. Then KTM decided that the 1290 wasn't enough, so for the 2024 model year, they've upped the ante and debuted the Super Duke 1390R Evo. This motorcycle is using a 1350cc V-twin that has increased the power output to 188 horsepower and 107 foot-pounds of torque. Whether or not you're going to feel that power difference over the original Super Duke, I'm not really sure, because it's going to have a bunch of electronics to tailor that power. Otherwise, you're just going to yeet yourself into infinity. This bike is equipped with semi-active WP suspension, Brembo-style calipers, and a comprehensive suite of electronics to ensure you can keep the beast shiny side up, even when pushing it too hard. Having a long history of making highly capable off-road motorcycles, KTM has combined those expertise into their existing Duke motorcycles and developed a whole line of adventure-style bikes. KTM was really quite early to the ADV scene, having released their first motorcycle bearing the adventure title way back in 1997. And yes, you can make the case that BMW invented the category, but I really think KTM has refined it and made some of the best bikes in the space. The 620 Adventure was a rally-inspired long-distance enduro bike that was meant to be as capable on-road as it was on dirt. Most of the adventure bikes we know today are quite a long departure from these off-road routes, though KTM has managed to stay true to these core values even in their current models. In 2003, KTM released the 950 Adventure, which was another milestone for their brand as it was a platform ridden to victory in the 2002 Dakar Rally. From there, as KTM's own Duke lineup evolved over the years, KTM was able to adapt those platforms for their adventure-style motorcycles as well. Currently, KTM has adventure bikes for every segment, including the 390 Adventure, 790 Adventure, 890 Adventure, and 1290 Adventure. To ensure these bikes are equipped for off-road riding, they all have long travel suspension, knobby tires, spoked wheels, and an engine skid plate. The amount of creature comforts and performance features increases with displacement as you move up in the range of these bikes. The Super Duke 1290 Adventure R is the most equipped ADV bike in KTM's lineup, if you don't look at something like the 890R Rally, which I think is a little better off-road. It's using a detuned version of the 1301cc V-twin from the Super Duke, paired with all the necessary off-road accoutrements. It has off-road specific rider aids, a substantial 7-inch TFT display, and cruise control. Now, do you need 1301cc's of V-twin Fury off-road? Probably not. It's really more of like a long-distance enduro rally thing. It's not really designed to tackle single track. The Super Duke is also sold in a GT variant that's designed for sport touring, which would be my pick. It features some of the creeper comforts you'd find in a long-distance adventure bike, but comfortable ergonomics, wind protection, and 17-inch wheels. It's otherwise built for long-distance street duty. Being a notorious competitor in both off-road and supermoto racing events, KTM is a frontrunner for motorcycles in these styles. As mentioned earlier, the 690 Enduro is the pinnacle of long-distance off-road riding. It uses a 693cc single-cylinder engine that's making 74 horsepower, but weighing just 350 pounds, fully fueled using WP Explorer suspension. This bike is about as capable during off-road riding and during the street-legal stuff that it can be. Compared to the dinosaur dual sport 650s from Kawasaki, Honda, and Suzuki, the 690 Enduro is capable and modern in ways that those bikes can't even comprehend. The engine is powerful, the brakes and suspension are top-notch, and its tech package is contemporary. As the kind of unicorn do-it-all motorcycle, the 690 Enduro makes a very strong case for itself. The KTM 690 is also sold in the SMCR Supermoto, which is tailored more for street duty. It shares many of the same components, but uses WP Apex suspension and 17-inch wheels and tires. Again, compared to the factory Supermotos offered by the Big Four, the SMCR is pushing in a completely different weight class. Although Ducati does have that new Hyper Mono. That's kind of interesting. And though they have competed in Grand Prix racing motorcycle events at varying capacities over the last 20 years, KTM doesn't offer much in the way of flagship sport bikes, weirdly enough. As previously mentioned, KTM sells the RC390, which is built upon the Duke 390 platform, but featuring more committed ergonomics, fully faired bodywork, and adjustable suspension. This bike has proven to be a class contender in many ways, providing a riding experience and handling characteristics unlike other beginner sport bikes. It has since become a favorite for beginner track junkies alongside the Ninja 400, and an even smaller version, the RC125, is sold in European and Asian countries. But other than that, the only other sport bike offering is the track-only and highly limited RC8C. Despite producing some highly formidable racing machines for MotoGP, KTM seems to rely heavily on their expertise and stick to manufacturing naked and adventure bikes as their street-legal machines. But truthfully, I would love if KTM would make some sort of fully faired sport bike that wasn't a super highly limited edition like the RC8C. Although many of you know, I got the chance to take an RC8C out on track, and it's bar none one of the greatest track bikes I have ever ridden.
Oh my God!
Ever. It's pure race bike. It's amazing. If you like the idea of KTM but aren't attracted to the aggressive, in-your-face, neon orange, bionicle style of bodywork, many motorcycles from Husqvarna are built on existing KTM platforms. For instance, the Svartpillen 401 uses many components from the Duke 390. The Norden 901 is just based off of the 890 Adventure, and the Husky 701 Enduro and Supermoto is adjacent to the KTM 690. So that's just something to keep in mind. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, a brief overview on KTM street bikes. Hope it wasn't too confusing for you. I know things got a little dicey with all the rapidly evolving Duke models. It's kind of like Ducati's Monster, how it was sold in like 50 different variations in 20 years. A little confusing, but I think you'll figure it out. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell. It's a new year and we've got big new things coming, and the easiest way to stay up to date is by catching all the latest videos. If you haven't already, check out yamanoob.co and become a member, join our Discord, sign up for our email list, and you'll absolutely be up to date on everything we've got going on. Snag yourself some riding gear or get yourself entered to win our next giveaway. We've got something really special coming in late January that you're not going to want to miss. Catch you later. Fact. During the 19th century, the emergence of the telegraph gave rise to floriography, a language of flowers where people exchanged encoded messages using specific blooms to convey sentiments. This unique form of communication allowed individuals to express emotions that might have been deemed inappropriate in the societal norms of the era. Goodbye.
Oh, I love being here inside of the warm embryonic fluid of Valentino Rossi. Me and him just sharing foods together. Maybe he's gonna eat some pizza or some pasta here in the hills of Tavullia. But you know where else it's nice and warm and cozy is this next episode of Yami Noob. You can click on right over here. I'd love for you to watch it. But anyways, I'm gonna stay here hanging out. Me and him might go onto the track later, but I'll catch you guys later.